Welcome again, dear friends, to another edition of Fresh Bread. This is Reverend Phil Anderson, pastor of Oakland United Methodist Church and Kansas Avenue United Methodist Church here in Topeka, Kansas. And I do, as always, thank you for being with us today as we have these 10-minute daily devotionals. They're around 10 minutes, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, right around 10 minutes. Don't want to take up your whole day by any means. We're talking yesterday about Isaiah and when he was commissioned by the Lord. So many thoughts right now are just in my mind. I hope, God willing, Lord, just help me to sort these out so I can share with folks. Because I'll tell you, there's just so much gratitude that I have right now for the Lord and what he's done for me and for you too, if you know the Lord. I mean, I don't think we understand how much God has done for us because we don't always realize how lost some of us really were. We don't realize the righteousness that God has given to us because we don't realize how unrighteous we were before we knew the Lord. I think we just felt like we've always been saved, but there was that process. There was that moment even where Christ came into our heart and saved us, redeemed us, bought us with his blood that he shed for us. It was God's way of bringing us into that fellowship and that relationship with him. It's a mystery for us. How did it happen? Why did it happen? Yet it makes perfect sense when we know about it, when we really think about it. We know Isaiah was a great prophet of the Lord, and he saw the Lord seated on a throne, as it says in Isaiah, the 6th chapter. God was on a throne, not on a chair. It's a difference. You know what? God's always been on the throne, and he's always going to be on the throne. He ain't leaving the throne. Nobody's going to pry him off of it. He is ultimately in control. This time that Isaiah saw the Lord coincided with the year that King Uzziah died. King Uzziah was the king of Israel for a long time, about, I believe, 56 years. And for the most part, he was quite a good king. Led Israel into some great victories. But he had a tragic ending to his life because he tried to perform a ceremony that he was not authorized to perform for the Lord. And there was a consequence for that. And King Uzziah was stricken with leprosy, which was a dread disease, very contagious, and as such, he became an outcast. So for all the great things he did, he had a falling off at the end. What do we make of that? Well, probably a lot of different things. If we could sit around and just visit, we could really share a lot of things that we could all maybe discuss about this. I would just say that for me, as I'm sitting here today thinking about the scripture passage, reminds me that we cannot put our hope and our trust in people, in institutions made by man. We have to trust fully in God. Think of political leaders. Can't put our trust in them. They cannot be the basis for our faith. No matter who's in power, no matter who's in office, doesn't matter. Our hope and our faith and our confidence rest squarely on God and no one else. And so that was the backdrop to this section of the 6th chapter of Isaiah. And it is another reminder that no matter who is in control here on earth, and whether they are faithful to the Lord or unfaithful, at the end of the day, God's still in control, no matter what. I take great confidence in that. God's the one that's ultimately in charge. It's been now close to 15 months since the coronavirus became a worldwide pandemic. It was in early March of 2020. Some almost now 15 months ago. Things have changed a little bit. We're seeing things open up a bit, and that's great. But through that whole time, where we were all kind of walking through this darkness together, there's no roadmap on exactly what needed to be done. There was no end date to the coronavirus pandemic. There's still not an actual end date to COVID-19. We may have it with us from this point forward. We don't know. God's still in control. And we know that no matter what, He is with us. And throughout that whole time, we had confidence in God. We realized that it was a very difficult time for a lot of people, some much more than others. Our hearts go out to those who died, and to their families, loved ones, their friends. Very tragic time for a lot of people. We don't want to forget what they've gone through, how it's changed their life forever. And yet I believe God is calling us to continue with the mission that He has given us. And in the 6th chapter of Isaiah, in my New International Version, the little subtitle is Isaiah's Commission. And I love that word, commission. And that's something that I intend to do in both of our churches. We were getting ready to do it right before COVID-19. There's a few people I wanted to commission in certain ministries in both churches. And then COVID-19 came along, and it just kind of set us back a little bit on some of the things we were going to do. And by the time we kind of got our bearings back under us, we were moving forward again, we had to shut down again. We were shut down 8 out of 12 months. Amazing. Yet the church has survived because we knew God was still in control. And we stayed in touch the best we could through email, through phone calls, through social media, occasionally through a personal visit. But God was still in control. And we could rest in that assurance. So I want to talk a little bit more about this tomorrow. I hope you can be with us tomorrow for Friday's edition of Fresh Bread. Until then, I pray that God will give you a great Thursday, June the 3rd, 2021, and that we will be back together for more Fresh Bread tomorrow on Friday. Thanks again for joining me. May God richly bless you is my prayer. Do have a great day.